Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have the other of the newer Legacy Collection releases that are also hard to find. We recently had taken a look at the Geosternbergia, which seems to be getting a pretty strong mixed reaction. Some people really like it, some people just for some reason hate that figure. I don't know why, I think it's really fun. But we have the other figure that may inspire some hate because we've got the Jurassic Park 3 Velociraptor. Now this one is obviously a female Velociraptor, and it's definitely not the greatest figure out there, especially when it comes to a Mattel Velociraptor, because in typical trademark at this point Mattel style, they decided to stop giving us paint as we ran out onto the tail. They gave us a little tiny bit, but it really needed more, maybe some paint down on the legs and stuff, and it really would have looked a lot better. They did do an okay-ish job on this one, and it definitely isn't one of the figures I was really excited about, but I definitely wanted to get it in my collection because I try my hardest not to miss any Mattel releases when it comes to their mainline figures, especially not just for my own personal sanity and to include them in my collection, but for you guys so I can try to cover every figure and review them all for you. So it, again, wasn't something that I was super excited about, but it is still pretty cool, and at least it's, a JP3 female raptor. I missed the original one that was released as far as that set with Alan Grant. I missed that one, and it eats at me all the time because I don't think I'll ever get a chance to actually buy that because it's just crazy how expensive that stuff is now. But as far as the packaging goes, this should be in Legacy Collection packaging. Unfortunately, this one's from China, so we have Jurassic World Dominion packaging for it, which is kind of strange, but at the same time sort of cool. If you take a look here at the back, you have an image here showing off the action feature, which is, an action feature we've had for the Velociraptors for ages, since Fallen Kingdom, I would say. So we're all very much so aware of the action feature of the figure at this point. But I'm really excited actually to take a look at this one because it kind of looks a little nicer in hand than I was expecting it to, so let's pop it out of the box and do just that. So here is the Velociraptor now loose from its packaging, and again, it's really not terrible. It's nicer than I expected it to be. It still has a lot that could have been improved upon it, but for what it is, it's not terrible, and still, again, it's more fun than I was expecting. I just really wish there was more paint running out onto the tail, and maybe a little more paint like in the legs and stuff. But the tones of color they've used on it actually look really quite nice, and I just absolutely love the green eye right there. It just like pops so nicely as far as playing off of the tones of color of the rest of the body. I think the eye should probably be more of a yellowish tone rather than a green if we were trying to make it screen accurate, but I guess Mattel doesn't really care too much as far as screen accuracy, and we've seen that since the Mattel line began, especially when it comes to like even the head sculpt. You can see the head sculpt, although it does kind of have that JP3 style head crest, it's not exact as far as what we see on the Raptors in Jurassic Park 3. But with that being said, again, I still think it's pretty cool, so let's jump to a closer look at it right now. So the actual Raptor itself is 100% the same sculpt that we've had in the past. We don't need to take a look at the sculpt. There's no reason for it at this point, as we've reviewed this Raptor so many times. What we need to take a look at would be anything that differentiates this from any of the older releases, and of course that would entirely be the paint scheme. So you can see that we have this nice light gray for the face. You can see that we have this darker brown here running along the top of the head, and it kind of like leaks down here into the palate area and then down around in the eye socket. And it looks pretty cool. Again, not exactly screen accurate to the female raptor as far as the design goes, but still looks cool. You can see that we do have a different coloration here for the lower jaw. Even though there's a very light tone for the upper side, they did still give us an alternate light tone that's more of a white for the lower jaw. Of course, we do have an articulated jaw. You can see that we have a nice light pinkish tone in there for the mouth. And of course, we have the teeth painted out in there, and they look okay, like there's no real sloppiness or anything as far as that goes. There's also a nice gloss coat for the inside of the mouth, so that's also a plus. And you can see that the eyes are painted again with that nice green, and they do have a pupil painted, but it's hard to tell if it's an actual black pupil or if it's just that dark brown that we have there covering the top of the head. The eyes do, again, stand out really nicely, even if it's not the right coloration for the eye of this raptor, it stands out beautifully. I really do quite like the eyes. As you move back here into the neck, you start to see more of that dark brown kind of, designing and splotching up here on the top of the neck. You can see it kind of spots and stripes and stuff down here on the side. And you can also see that there is a speckling to this figure that I'm noticing. It's not super abundant up here in the body, but you'll really see it once we head out into the tail. You can see again that we have more of that dark brown designing here along the back, but as we start to reach the tail, the coloration disappears. And then we don't have that coloration moving out for the length of the tail, but here's where you'll really notice that speckling. You can definitely see, again, it's pretty abundant as you move out the length of the tail here of the raptor. You don't unfortunately have any color in the arms or legs, maybe some speckles, but that's really about it. No nail paint as always. And you can see that we do have that lighter coloration here running down the throat all the way down the chest and actually showing up here in the stomach region, which is pretty surprising. That's not something you often see, and it actually goes up pretty far into the stomach before disappearing. You can see if we look here at the underside though that it disappears as we reach the groin, and then we don't have any coloration here running along the underside at all. The idea behind Mattel's paint jobs and the thought process that they have coming into these sometimes is really baffling to me. I just can't figure out why they do what they do. I have to pull the Jurassic Facts app code out here for you. If you'd like to add this one to your collection, there is the app code for the female Velociraptor, the Jurassic Park 3 version that we have here. And you can again see the paintwork looks pretty much the same over here as it did on the initial side. So it's not the greatest figure in the world, that's definitely for sure, but it is still pretty fun, and I'm happy to have it. It's just nowhere near as nice as it could have been, especially since we actually have a Hammond collection version coming out soon for this raptor, or we're supposed to, as far as Amazon has not given us any type of a release date or anything, and that's really the only place that I can think of that has it for sale. I'm not entirely sure if Entertainment Earth has it, though. They may have it, and I'll have to check there for a release date for the Hammond Collection version. And as somebody pointed out in the Geo Sternbergia review, it is very strange that Mattel decided to release both this and the Geo Sternbergia in the Legacy Collection right as they are releasing both of those in the Hammond Collection. A little bit strange as far as the decision-making goes there, but again, it's an okay raptor. Now, I don't feel like we need a size, I don't feel like we need comparisons, none of that stuff, because we've had, this raptor a ton of times. So all we'll really do is basically show off the action feature here, so you want to push it down, and then it sort of jumps. Sometimes it jumps really nicely, sometimes not so much. Kind of is jumping. Maybe we'll do it. Yeah, there we go. So I just push him down on the tail works better. I don't know why. I never really mess with these guys, and I always forget. Wow, he didn't go anywhere that time. I always forget that. Oh, I give up. That's basically what it is. It jumps, and it's pretty fun. It also has some nice articulation, again, with the articulation in the neck, can totally swivel around. And I really do like the articulation of this style because you can get a good, tilt forward, tilt back with the head, as well as moving left and right. Of course, the articulated jaw. We have arm articulation forward and back and out away from the body. And then no swivel tail, and the legs do articulate, but they're part of the action feature, so you can't articulate them individually. They have to go together. But I think that's really about it as far as what we need to go over when it comes to articulation action feature. We don't need sizes or anything like that. So this Mattel Jurassic World Legacy Collection Jurassic Park 3 female Velociraptor is kind of fun. Again, it suffers from pretty much your standard Mattel problems that we always have. You've got insanely huge feet, like even bigger, I think, potentially than your average Mattel Raptor on the jumping version, so that's, of course, a downside for the figure. The lack of paint running out onto the tail definitely takes away a lot from the figure, especially when recreating a female Jurassic Park 3 Velociraptor. I feel like it really needed that paint out onto the tail, but in typical Mattel fashion, they chose not to do that and try to give us, the bare bones minimum paint job for this one. On top of that, we have missing nail paint, as always, something that we've been pretty much harping on Mattel about for years that could just improve the product so much, would just be that little addition of nail paint. Something, again, that I am stating that I really hope they start doing. And again, I don't say this stuff all the time just to kind of rag on the Mattel product. I really don't want to do that because I love what Mattel does. I just say these things all the time so that maybe the off chance that someone from Mattel might watch one of these and then think, oh, you know what, we should do that. But I think at this point, they know they should do that. We've been telling them for a very long time and they just choose not to. The other downside about this figure is the distribution, because it's been pretty horrible so far, as very few places have even seen this figure. And same with the Geosternbergia. I don't know if it's going to come here to the United States. It may not. It's so hard to tell sometimes when it comes to Mattel and the stuff they release. You just never know if you're going to have a chance to buy it, which kind of, when you're a collector like me, keeps you on edge. You just never know if you should pull the trigger and buy it from overseas or something like that as soon as you see it, because it can, as quickly as it show up, quickly disappear and you'll just never see it again. And it's very, very frustrating at times. So I purchased this one from, again, Aliexpress. It's a little bit more expensive than you'll pay here, but it's cheaper than the Geosternbergia, which is a plus. So, again, it's not the greatest Velociraptor in the world. It's still kind of cool just because it has that Jurassic Park 3 female Velociraptor look, and even though the eye color isn't exactly the right shade, it has a nice tone of color used, and it looks really good in comparison to the rest of the body. It's got a fairly fun action feature. It's also got some articulation, which is pretty fun. And overall, of course, kind of gives you that nostalgia vibe of Jurassic Park 3. It's just not the greatest version of this Raptor that we'll probably ever see, especially with the Hammond Collection version right around the corner. If you are interested in picking it up, though, because maybe you have a problem like me and you just want to own everything that they release, I will include a link in the description to the listing where you can purchase this on AliExpress. I think it's like $25 or maybe even a little cheaper, something like that. So it's not too much further over retail. So if you are interested, check the link in the description. Go grab yourself this Raptor, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.